Hey, I'm Herald sportswriter Manny Navarro, here once again with Charles Fishbein of Elite Scouting Services. I know we just wrapped up 2015's National Signing Day, but you know how this business works, Charles.
It's never too early.
It's never too early to talk about 2016, so let's start there with Dayton Broward. Obviously, a pretty talented group of kids again in this 2016 class. Number one at the list, I know everybody knows, can't miss, is Nick Bosa, the defensive end out of St. Thomas.
Yeah, when you look at his brother, Joey Bosa, you know, he's already an All-American, probably going to be a top 5 pick in next year's draft, not this upcoming year's draft, but Nick has been talked about for 4 years now, and now it's time to be the leader of that St. Thomas football team.
Is he better than his brother? How's he different? I'm putting you on the spot now.
I know that's been an argument with all of us. That listen, I mean, I always look at it that, you know, the older brother's already done it. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely, you know, Joey's done it. He's been there. He's won now a national championship, not only a state championship. But Nick has been the kid that they've talked about since youth league, and now it's his turn to be a senior. So we'll find out. But I mean, it's a tall task to outdo what his brother's done at Ohio State.
A lot of wide receiver talent in 2016 class, which is good for Miami because Al Golden said yesterday they wanted to get 5 receivers in this next signing class, and there's a boatload of receivers.
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, guys like Darnell Solomon, who, you know, played at Champagnat, he may, who knows? He's
going to be at Central now.
He's going to be at Central. So Central, you know, Central has the #1 recruiting class for 2016 right now. But Darnell's a guy that I first saw at Hollywood Hills. He's a big, tall, rangy kid. He could probably even play a little defense for Central. But those are the type of guys that Miami's going to want to get on early. They already have Sam Bruce, who, if he's 6'2", he's probably the #1 player, not only in Florida, but maybe the nation. You know, he's a big-time football player. So there's a lot of guys, not only down here, but across the state of Florida. That's one position that's really got a lot of great players next year.
Yeah, you look at some of the other guys listed here. Deontay Mullins, who's a Miami commitment, goes to Gulliver. You already mentioned Solomon. Dredrick Snelson out of American Heritage, who was a Miami commit. Yep. Benjamin Victor out of Coconut Creek, and then Calvin Ridley out of Monarch. Freddie Pinder out of Southridge.
Well, Benjamin Victor's a guy that we put on the radar last year. You know, he was at Northeast originally. Kind of took the rollover for Stacy Coley. He's a little taller, a little more rangy guy than Stacy, about 6'4", 6'5". He's over at Coconut Creek, which is crazy. They got about 4 or 5 to BCS level kids. But then you look at you know, Dedrick Snelson. He was a guy that had a great year last year. Fast kid, kind of stretch the field, can score from anywhere on the field.
A lot of skilled position guys. There are some guys on the defensive line too. Kier Thomas out of Central, and then linebacker Devin Bush Jr. out of Flanagan. Who do you think, besides Bosa, is probably the next best defensive recruit down here?
Well, Devin's probably one of the top players in Broward County. One, he's got the pedigree. His father played, you know, down here, had a college career, also played in the league. But Devin, you saw last year when Flanagan lost Devin Bush last year, their defense just wasn't the same. He's a leader. I think that's the most important. Not only is he a great football player, but he knows how to get everybody lined up. He's a great leader on the team and off the field as well.
Looking at Trayvon Mullen over from Coconut Creek, cornerback. I know he gets a lot of attention. What do you think of his game, and is he definitely the best cornerback down here?
Trayvon, not only the top corner down here, but he may be the #1 corner in the state. He's just a really, really athletic guy, long. He reminds me a lot, it's crazy, of a former University of Miami kid, DeMarcus Van Dyke, but I think he's more refined at the same age as DeMarcus. DeMarcus was a tall kid that could run, 4'3" type of guy. Trayvon has all those same abilities, but he's a natural corner as well. He could also play some safety.
Tight end Nick Eubanks is an intriguing guy. We don't produce many tight ends down here, but he's a guy who could be big time.
Well, the one thing that you got to like about Nick Eubanks is you can stretch him out. He's not just an inline tight end. You can move him out, kind of how, you know, Kelvin Benjamin was used in high school. And then in college, he ended up as a wide out. But I think Nick Eubanks could be that bigger guy, kind of red zone target. He's a guy that has a ton of potential, and he's only going to get better.
Seems like American Heritage is probably loaded, the most loaded team in Broward. I know normally it's St. Thomas, but they've kind of taken over.
Yeah, after 2 straight state championships, they got a lot of young guys, not only in the 2016 class, but we're going to be talking about them next year in 2017 as well.
A couple quarterbacks that are kind of interesting down here. Tyler Huntley out of Hollandale, Stephen Calvert out of Carroll City. What do you think of those two guys at the quarterback position?
Well, Calvert's a guy that I thought last year, he's got a big-time arm. He can make all the throws. He didn't have a lot of time to throw the football last year. He had a lot of pressure on him. I think if they can get their offensive line going, I think Carroll City can have a really good offense next year. Calvert can throw the football, and he believes that he can get the ball to his receivers, and that's a big thing. Tyler Huntley, he really improved last year, and that's one of the big reasons why Hallandale made a run almost at a state championship, and they were in the game. They were ahead of Central at the time, but he was a big reason why, and I only expect him to have a better year next year.
You and I talked about this earlier. I know Miami's got a commitment already from Amir Azul out of Coral Gables, who's a big-time track guy, but really not a whole lot of running back talent in South Florida next year in terms of elite guys, right? I mean, Deion McIntosh,
It's just,
Gibbons.
when you look at the past couple years of the Dalvin Cooks, the Sony Michels, there's not that top-end guy. This year coming up, Deion McIntosh will be one of the guys, and Miami already got one of the guys that's a track guy, but there's not a lot of big-time running backs. Across the whole state of Florida next year, it's very odd that you don't see that one guy that everybody's going to be after.
All right, should be interesting. There's a little taste of what we'll be talking about for the next 363 days or 4 days, however long it is, until next signing day. All right, for Charles, I'm Manny Navarro. We'll see you later.